Hello and welcome back to the Demis Hellen channel. We're back with another monthly arpeggiator video. If you're not subscribed already, it would be a good time to do that now so you don't miss any of these videos as they come each month, and also the videos in between. As per usual, there'll be no MIDI available for download, and it's a follow-along video, so you learn as you go, and hopefully you can transfer these skills to future melodies, future arpeggios that you might build in your own work. If you enjoyed the video or have any questions about what you see in today's video, please let me know down in the comments. And with that said, let's get started on the video. So here we are, we have the yellow pattern, which is just the pattern itself, and then we have the orchestrated arpeggio that we're going to work and recreate today. So let's listen to the pattern first, and then I'll show you how it's been transformed. And there we are, that is our sound. I just want to let you know as well, Sunny Pikes is our sound choice of the day. It's from the Born to Produce Uplifting Vital Trance Bank. You can get that at borntoproduce.com. It's been created by yours truly, but it does help support the channel, and it does support Born to Produce as well, because what those guys are doing over there is great stuff. So if you're wanting to refresh your preset library, this is a good pack to add into the mix. So let's get started. I'm going to duplicate the original pattern. So this is so we've got something to go back to. If we make a mistake, we do have the original pattern and we haven't forgotten how we started. And to kickstart this arpeggiator, we're going to work on the top notes only. I've removed the bass notes for now, so we can just focus on the upwards arpeggio, because predominantly all the way through this, it is in an upwards motion. There is a moment where it falls back down here just to create a nice loop back into the starting position. And the arpeggio is simply this. So if we just put these into place, we've got an E sharp, an F sharp, and an A sharp. And that's going to be the same across the board. So again, like this. And for the first bar, that is fine. We can delete that second one because it's exactly the same. But we do have that double note there at the end, which makes it slightly different. So we've got the main sequence across. So you can see this pattern on this top note, it always lands 1/16 before the start of the next beat, whereas the last note hits on the off beat instead of the last note before the new beat. And that is the same there with the double roll. So it just gives you a little bit of a disjointed arpeggiated sequence and just allows it to loop a little bit better. And now we can work on the changes. So just to let you know, we are in F sharp major. I don't think I mentioned this earlier. So F sharp major is the key we're working in, and because we're working in Cubase, if we move any of the notes out of key, it is going to turn orange. If you want to learn how to use this feature, if you're a Cubase user, I do have a video on screen now, so you can take a look at that, and don't forget to come back and finish watching this video. So this was all done by ear, so there's no particular pattern to this. There's nothing no secrets of using a fifth and a fourth together or anything like that. It's really just how and where I knew the sound was going when I was playing it on the keyboard. So if we just move this up to a C sharp and a D sharp, that is our melodic sequence to start with. And that's the basic building blocks in place. We can now add the bass notes back in. So I'm just going to paste them back in. And you can see we're on the D sharp down here. And the bass is simply just going to shift on the last two bars. And that is going to be an A sharp and a B. And you can see we have our arpeggiated sequence. Now there is a second part to this, but we're going to create a couple of connecting sections, which is this note here and this note here, where we class it as a 16th roll. So let's start with this section. I'm going to move this note, we're going to put it on a D sharp. So we're kind of preempting this last section here, but it doesn't stray away too far from this upwards motion that it's going to sound more natural in there still. And the reason this D sharp works is because we have D sharp in the lower portion of our arpeggiated sequence. So of course it's going to work, and it does create a nice little blend, but the jump from the F sharp here to the D sharp is just too big. So what I'm going to do here is shift this and keep it in character with the rest of this by shifting it back up to an A sharp. So instead of it returning to an F, or should we say an E sharp, it's actually going to go back straight to this. So to close this gap down, we can simply just grab the F sharp and shift it to the A sharp. So it's keeping it in character with the rest of this. We've only got an E sharp, an F sharp and an A sharp. The E sharp's already played. The F is too much of a jump. The A sharp is a perfect match, and it gives it a nice little jump to that, and it'll sound a bit more natural. So let's listen to the original again, and then I'll shift it up on the second time round. So you can hear it's adding a step up because it's higher up there, and also it's adding to the disjointedness of that section, emphasizing the offbeat D sharp here. And now that we've done that, we can focus on the 2/16ths. We're going to have an A sharp and an F sharp, and the reason for that is this is going to tie nicely back into this first bit, because this is where it's going to loop back round into. If we do the E sharp, it's going to sound a bit weird because we start on that note. So having them two is just going to bring it back down to earth and start it off again. So I want you to take note of this section here that we've just made. It's going to be very smooth and just keep you flowing into the next section. That's all great. But this section here is a bit more disjointed and brings the listener out and then drops them back into the smoothness when the bar starts again. So we want to do the same thing over here with this F sharp. We don't want it to be there. But let's just have a listen first and we'll make the change. You can hear it's pretty uninteresting. It doesn't have any character or charisma. It's not bringing the listener to a close. So this F sharp is actually going to join the D sharp up here. And you can first notice that we have these in pairs, these top notes. And this is the only one that wasn't in a pair. So now it is, but it's on the beat instead of on the 16th before the end of the beat. So you can see now we've mimicked the same pairing here as the end of this bar. We've got two A sharps, and now we've got two D sharps in the same fashion. And that's going to bring us out and back into the melody. And now you've got sort of a step up, and then this one's just a single hit. The best way I can describe this is a two-step sequence, so it's bringing you out in two stages over that beat, whereas this one, it's just a singular note that brings you out, and then this sounds quite smooth again. So it disjoints you but brings you back in quicker. There we are, that is the first part of the sequence done. Very simple. We're going to now duplicate this again, and I'm going to join these two clips together because it is one 8-bar loop. But what we'll do is we'll zoom out and we'll have this section here. And what's going to happen is this second half is going to have a slight bass change in there. The main change in this one is changing this to a G sharp. So we have a D sharp, a G sharp and a B in the bass, as opposed to the A sharp to the B in this one. But the beauty of this change is we can keep these three notes exactly the same as we did. It's just going to give it a little bit of a different aura on the second time round. For the leading part, we're going to leave everything as it is, but we're going to change this up with a double 16th here. And we're actually going to roll that up to a C sharp to a D sharp. And that's going to add that little progressive glint in there. And just to change up this last bit, we're going to shift that up to a G sharp there, and this one to a C sharp, and that is going to mimic this, but the opposite way down to the G sharp. It's a nice smooth roll back into it, and that's fine for the end part. Everything else has been sort of disjointed and brings you out of the melody and drops you back in. That's nice just to keep you back into it nice and smoothly after 8 bars. So the whole thing all together sounds like this. You can hear that rolls around really nicely and keeps it nice and progressive. So with that said, that is the final part done. We can copy over our bass and just a little bit of white noise to give it some context. But I want to make a point of showing you the sounds over here. If we go to the audio inserts, we've got an instance of replica, which is a delay, EQ and some compression. So I'm going to turn these off for just 1 second so you can hear exactly what Vital is providing. And you can see amongst other effects in there as well, we've got eighth delay notes on ping pong mode and a little bit of reverb. So that's fine, I'm going to leave them in. And then on top of all that, we have Replica from Native Instruments. This is on the delay mode modern, a little bit of saturation, tame the lows and the highs a little bit, and it's on a dotted eighth rhythm with a low mix. So if we just listen to this and increase the mix, you'll hear the effects of Replica on top of this. And what I'm going for with this delay is adding it in there for a little bit of extra texture, not really necessarily to hear the effects of delay, if that makes sense. So when you take it away, so you turn it off, you can hear that something has changed and it's got a little bit flatter. It's there just to add character and a little bit of breadth in the sound. Next up is the EQ. So we're using FabFilter Pro Q3. I've done a low cut and I've done a little bit of energy taming. So I'm just removing some of the low mids where there's a lot of energy coming through and just really taking away from the rest of the track. So that keeps it nice and in check. And then we have a boost here at the top. So don't just follow this EQ blindly, by the way. This is not the secret key ingredient to the sound. This is because the sound isn't too bright in the original sound design as it is intended, but I wanted a little bit of brightness to come out of it. So I've boosted that by plus 6 dB. Your sounds might already be bright enough, so don't just add this on and make it really bright because you're just going to ruin your mix. So let's listen to this off and then back on. You can see this high boost adds a little bit of that percussive element back into the sound. And it does sound a little bit thin at first, but then when you consider all the other elements that are going to come in and sit around it, that's not going to be the worry. They're sounding thin. And finally, we have some compression. This is the VSC2. You can use any compressor you want. I just like the sound of this one on my arpeggios. So we've gone for a 4:1 ratio, medium attack, medium release. That's our sound once we tune in the threshold, and then a bit of makeup gain to bring the level back up to what it was before compression was applied. And what you're going to hear is you're going to hear a lot of air added into the mix. And what this is going to do is add a breath of life into the arpeggiated sequence. It's going to pull out some of the delay from the replica and some of the delay from obviously Vital itself and the reverb. And it's going to bring them a little bit more to the forefront to give it an airy touch and give it a little bit more complexity. And that's why we set replica here to a much lower level on the mix, because the anticipation of the compression coming, I knew that was going to be pulled out a little bit more and give it a little bit more life. So let's have a listen to it off and then on, and we'll do it a few times so you can hear exactly what's going on. So you can hear some of those notes really come through harshly, and you can hear the compressor reacting. So there might be a little bit of tweaking to do there, but you can hear it brings out the delay and the reverb from the lower portions of the sound bed and gives you more life in the arpeggiated sequence. And finally, it's not even activated, but LFO Tool, it wasn't activated in the original demo. It was there really if I was going to add a kick in or anything and provide a little bit of side chaining. And there we have it. We have our completed arpeggiated sequence. If you have any questions or you want to show your support, let me know down in the comments. And if you think it's earned your subscription, that would be great. And hit the notification bell as well so you get notified when these videos go live and any of the other videos in between. And with that said, thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.